Hey folks, welcome back. I'm David and we're here in my shop where I build Ewor guitars. This is going to be episode number 5 of the series where I'm building this guy right here. We've been working on the body in the last few episodes and we're going to continue on with that right now. So the next two operations I want to do on this guy here is one, I want to cut in the neck pocket, okay? And the other one, I want to do my final finish pass around the outside of this body to get it down to the final shape. Because as you can see, I've bandsawed off the edge, but I want to clean that up on the CNC machine. But before we do that, the main focus of this video is going to be on getting into and doing this neck pocket right here. Neck pockets is no big deal. I've done them before on my CNC machine, but this one's a little bit different in that I am using, instead of a flat bridge like this hip shot bridge here, I'm using a what's known as a tunematic bridge, which is this guy right here, and it sits on these two little adjustment wheels, okay? So a tunematic bridge is quite a bit taller than a flat bridge. Let me see if I can drop this on there and show you. So here I've got my tunematic bridge, and it is sitting, I've just got it drilled into this piece of wood, right, a piece of MDF right here, and that shows you the height of that. And if I put this regular flat bridge up next to it, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Let me spin it around. If you can see that height difference, that is quite a bit difference between the top of the saddles here and the top of the saddles up here. This flat bridge, this hip shot flat bridge, I use them a lot. I love them, they're great bridges. It is for when a neck is set into the guitar body where the fretboard, the top of the fretboard is basically parallel with the top of the body of the guitar. And the thickness we have here from the top of the saddles down to the top of the body basically matches the thickness of your fretboard and the fret on top, okay? A tunematic bridge is quite a bit taller than that. So the only way to, well, I shouldn't say the only, there's a couple ways of doing it. You could take this bridge and route basically a pocket in the top of the body and recess the bridge down in on top. Or the other way to do it, you can angle your neck, you angle the neck, the headstock down and the other end of the neck up, which is going to run the strings at basically an uphill angle until they meet the top of this bridge. And that's the way we're going to handle it here. The two ways of doing that, you could angle that neck in two different ways. One of them would be to make the guitar body as normal, do your neck pocket flat on the bottom. In other words, the bottom of the neck pocket parallel with the top of the guitar body. And then bevel the back side of the neck, okay, the heel joint on the neck, which would tilt it up. Or the other way to do it, which is what we're going to do, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut that the bottom of the neck pocket on a slight angle, very slight angle. I've done them before, and I've done them at 3 degrees. I've done them at under 3 degrees. It's not very much. It's a very slight angle. And what that's going to do is that just basically gives these strings the trajectory, uphill trajectory to come over here and meet the top of the bridge pieces, where when it meets there, you've got a decent playing action on the rest of the neck. So when it's all said and done, what we want is when our neck is fully constructed, fretboard, frets and everything in place and glued in the body, we want to be able to, and the bridge is also set down here, we want to be able to lay a straight edge on the center of the frets all the way along the whole neck and project that straight edge out over the top of the bridge. And we want the top of our frets to be just touching the top of the saddles in the center of the bridge when the bridge is set as its lowest position. So that's our goal in this whole thing, and that's what we need to determine. Now, I've always done it before where I've just basically, I'm sure you could do the mathematical equations and all that kind of stuff to come up with what the angle is going to be. I personally like drawing it out in full scale size and doing it. I've done that before, and I've come up with you know, the angles to do it. But now that I'm using the computer, I thought I would like to go back to the computer and redraw it on the computer and see if I can come up with it doing it the same way, same process I'd done before, but instead of pencil and paper, do it on a computer. So I think we ought to go over to Adobe Illustrator right now and turn on this guitar drawing that I did and see if we can't draw that out and what we come up with for an angle. Okay, so here we are in Adobe Illustrator. So this is the full-scale drawing of this guitar, as you can see. And so what I wanted to do is I needed to do basically a sideways cross-section of the guitar. So I need to draw this guitar as though I sawed it right down the middle along with the neck. And then I'll be able to hold it up sideways and look and see how much I need to tilt the neck to reach the height I want to meet the top of my bridge. So what I did was I started with drawing a cross-section of the body, and that's what this rectangle is here. And you can see these different lines. This one represents the end of the guitar. This is my 25-inch scale length. This is the end of my neck pocket. This is where the neck actually meets the body, right down here. And this is the horn of the guitar here. And this is drawn at 1 3/4 inches thick, which is what the body's going to be. And I have my scale length or my bridge marker, I have that line protruding 5/8 of an inch, 0.625 inches above the body, which is what that bridge is, that Tone Pros bridge is, when it's at its lowest possible position. And what I need to make it happen is I have to tilt the neck down far enough so when I draw a straight edge across the top of my frets, that straight edge will just meet the top of that bridge at its lowest possible position, and that is the angle we're going for. So then the next thing I drew was my my neck section right here, which is what you see here. I just drew it from the nut. You can see that's in line with the nut. I did from the nut and it met the end of the neck pocket right here, and I drew on top of it here a 1/4 inch fretboard to represent the fretboard. Now, if I zoom in on this guy, I want to show you here too. Let me even zoom further. You can see right here, I even drew the frets, okay? So this is my fretboard, this is my neck, and this guy, little guy right here, I drew 3 of these. That is an actual fret. It's 0.048 inches tall and 0.092 inches wide. Okay, and that's what I need to set my straight edge on, which this guy right here is the straight edge. I set that straight edge right on top of those 3 frets. You can see I've got 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. And I extended that line parallel with the top of the fretboard at that height all the way past my bridge. And you can see I've got quite a ways to raise that to actually meet the top of my bridge. So what I'm going to have to do is I am going to take this guy right here. So I'm going to highlight this. I have that grouped together as one item. And I'm going to go to Object, Transform, and Rotate. Okay, and I'm going to try, it usually lands between 2.5 and 3 degrees. So I'm going to try first negative, to get it to rotate that direction, I'm going to go negative 2.5. Let's click OK. All right, so as you can see here, I've pivoted. I've just lifted off of the top of the body a little bit, and I am just a smidge above my, or I'm a little ways above my my bridge height here. So that's too high, but I still have to lower the neck down into the body. I'm going to taper off the top of this body to meet just in this area right here, to meet the angle of the neck. So 2.5 is, I think, just not quite enough. So let me undo that. Let me go back to the original and let me try transform, rotate. Let's try negative 2.75. Let's try that angle. Let's go, okay. All right, now that's looking a little better because I'm thinking, now let me see if I could just move this guy down. Let me try to drop him down where I'd want him. Okay, that's crossing. Now let's zoom in down here. Okay, so here is my string. You can see it in this drawing. You can see it's just riding slightly above it's just on top of the frets right here. And I am just touching it 2.75 degree angle. I am just touching, and that puts this end of my fretboard just, in other words, a little bit of the neck is going to be showing just above the body here. And I think that's probably good. I think I kind of like that. Let me back that up a little bit. I think that looks okay to me. I think that'll work because I like it when I like it when my a little just a tiny bit, that's probably a 32nd of an inch or something of the side of my neck is showing. So I think that's pretty good. Okay, so here's my angle that I just traced over the top of this fretboard here. So that's my 2.75 degree angle. Now what I want to do is I'm gonna take and lock that sucker. Okay, it looks like it is locked. And I'm going to draw another line, but this one I'm going to draw a parallel underneath of it. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to hold down my shift key, which is going to make that line draw parallel to the sheet of paper. And I'm going to draw it the same length as this guy, which is 20 inches right here. Okay, then I'm going to draw a line up. You go a vertical line there too. We're going to stop right there. So what that tells me is, let me go back to my this guy right here. Okay, so that 0.949 inches is how long. So what I'm going to have, I'm going to cut two of these strips just like this, 20 inches long, and go from nothing to 0.95 inches tall on this other end. That will hold up my body fixture at the proper angle. And when my CNC machine cuts flat, it's actually going to cut an angle in this neck pocket. So that is how I'm going to tackle that. Okay, so what all that drawing told us is we're going to need two tapered wedges that are going to go from 0.95 inches thick over a 20-inch length down to nothing at the other end. And I need two of them to hold my body template fixture up on top of the CNC machine that's going to allow us to cut that pocket at a 2.75-degree angle. So I looked around my shop a little bit. I actually have a piece of mahogany that's just about the right size for us to use. It's 2 feet long and I don't know, 0.9 inches thick or something like that. And I was getting ready to start laying this out and marking it and drawing a line on there and cutting on the bandsaw and everything. I thought, wait a minute, I got a CNC machine. Now, I don't know how the CNC machine is going to handle cutting something down to absolutely nothing. That's going to be a little thin feather of a piece of wood. It may not hold up, but I thought, what the heck, let's give it a try. I got a CNC machine. Let's give it a shot. So let's go over to Vectric Vcarve real quick, and we'll draw up the little tool path to cut our two tapered wedges out of this. And we'll head over to the CNC machine and start cutting away. All right, so we're back in here into Vcarve. I want to see if I can't use that piece of wood that I've got, that piece of mahogany, and cut our two wedges out of it. Anyway, so here I am. I did a material setup. So that piece I've got is 1.78 inches wide. It's 24 inches long, and it's 0.89 inches thick. And I just planed it and joined it and made sure it was all flat and square and all that kind of stuff. We're going to reference the material surface for our Z0 position. And our XY, we're going to make it the bottom left-hand corner, which is that red dot you see down there. So, okay. So I think what I want to do, so I know my piece has to be 0.95 inches wide and 20 inches long. So I'm just going to come down here to the bottom. And I'm going to start drawing a line at the bottom. And I'm going to draw this guy at 0.95 right there. We're going to make it 20 inches long. Vcarve is pretty handy. It's got right next to my cursor, you can see the length of the line I'm drawing and the angle it's at. So right there, I'm at 20.069 inches long, and I'm at an angle of 87.3. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to come back down to the bottom of my drawing, and I'll join it back at 0 right there. Okay, so now I've got my first triangle. I think I want to take and I want to mirror this piece because I need two of them. So we're going to use a little mirror command here, and I'm going to flip it vertically, and I want to create a mirrored copy, and I want to flip vertically. Okay, close. All right, so I now have two of these guys, but this one, I actually want to, now that I've flipped it vertically and made a copy of it, I want to flip that horizontally, okay, and not make a copy, because I want that flat edge back up against this side over here. So I'm going to flip it horizontally, and that looks good. Now I can pull that guy apart.
I think that looks pretty good. Let me pull that a little closer to the edge. I don't want it all the way on the edge because I want the CNC to cut it. Okay, just in off the edge. Let's see what this guy's going to do to him. I want to pull this guy in off the edge too. And I want to pull a little bit up. All right, I'm off of the bottom. I'm off of the edges. I've got my two pieces, and I can see that I've got plenty of room in here. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch up spiral bit. I think that looks good. I think we could do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw two tool paths. Okay, so let's pin that guy right there. We're going to do a profile tool path. Okay, we're going to be the cut depth 0.89 inches. Okay, so we're going to start at 0. We're going to cut to 0.89 inches. Okay, we're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. Edit passes 9. I think that's good. Let's look at our passes. Yeah, that's good. We're under 1/10 of an inch per pass, so I think that's good. And we want to go outside right. We're going to do a climb cut. I don't think we'll leave any tabs in place. We want to ramp to the tool path. Yes. Preview. That looks like our two pieces right there.
Okay, well those guys came out really nice. I got them, they are just dead accurate. They're both exactly the same. I love it. So now the only thing to do is to go ahead and flip over my body fixture, and we're going to stick these down to the back of the body fixture with a little super glue and masking tape, and we should be ready to test this guy out. I've got a couple little tester bodies I've made as we've been going testing out different things, and I'm going to test this neck pocket tool path on this before we go cutting into the body, because there's been a lot of work on that, and I just want to test it out. So, but at any rate, so for now, let's get these stuck on there and get cutting away. Okay, so I've just done a little testing around with my tool paths. I had to make a temporary tool path to try this on a thin piece of MDF, but I think it looks good. So let me show you. I think I'm ready to move forward and go cutting out on my body. So let me get this mounted on here. Let me talk a second about what we're going to do. So okay, we're locked down in there good. So the cup, there's actually 3 tool paths that are going to run. The first one is going to flatten off this end of the guitar body here, and it's only going to flatten it just enough so when the neck's laying in there, there's a nice equal reveal under the fretboard to the surface of the guitar body. And I'm only going to cut it just a tad narrower, or a tad wider rather than the neck. And then I'm going to sand it and blend it in by hand up into these horns, because I don't want to go tapering down all these horns way up here where I'm going to lose some of my detail up here. So anyway, so I'm going to do that first. I'm going to flatten off this section of the body, and then I'm going to cut 2 tool paths. The first one is going to be a surfacing tool path, which I'm going to cut 1 1/4 inches deep, which is going to be a 1-inch surfacing bit that's going to take out the bulk of that material. Okay, and then I'm going to come back afterwards, run the same tool path, only just it'll just hit the perimeter with a 1/4 inch up spiral bit, which is going to clean up the edges of the cut and make it the exact size for the neck pocket. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this on over to the CNC machine, get it locked down, and get cutting. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it or not, but what this is here, you can see I've recessed in this top, and that's basically the taper that the neck is going to fall on. So you can see I go from roughly zero here at the pickup, down to about 1/8 of an inch thick here, and that should mean, now this is wider than my neck. This is probably 1/8 of an inch wider than my neck, but when I cut my neck pocket and I set my neck in place, the edge of this body should line up really nice up under the fretboard, and it'll look good when it's done, rather than there being some kind of a difference between these two pieces. But anyway, that's why I did that. And all this is going to get blended in by hand, by sanding by hand later on, but I just wanted to get this accurate depth set here now. But anyway, so now that I have that done, I'm going to measure for the depth of my neck pocket. And if I cut it at 1.25 inches deep, that's going to basically land me on that back, the back cap, or the back top, basically. That's going to hit me right on that veneer line, and I think that'll look pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and set those 2 remaining tool pads for the neck pocket at 1.25 inches deep, and we're going to get cutting away. Okay, well, I'm really pleased with the way that neck pocket came out. I just checked it here, and I've got a real consistent 1.25 inches to the bottom off of this little, where I beveled down the top. I think that came out really good. I'm very pleased with that. Nice taper, and it wound up ending exactly on my laminate back here too. So that may add to that neck, the neck transition. May add to the coolness of that. And now there's a little ledge here I've got from the flat top of the guitar body to this tapered part around the neck. I only went just slightly over because I'll wind up blending that in by hand. You know, when I sand and contour the rest of the top of this thing, I'll get this to work out. I just didn't want to just flatten off a big area. I just did what I needed to make it look good on the neck, and the rest I'll do by hand. So that's about it. The last thing I'm going to do on this body for the time being is I'm going to pop it back off of this thing. Well, first I got to take my little wedges off and go save them. I'll mark on those as for my Stingray body. It's a 2.75 degree taper for the Stingray template. And then I'll take the guitar body off of here, and I'll reattach the body with a piece of tape going up the middle. Of course, I'll put it back in my pins, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish the profile cut on the CNC machine. And if you notice too, something I wanted to point out, that pin, I set my pins far enough away that I can get a 1/4 inch bit in between the pin and the actual finished body, that CNC machine is not going to cut through my pin. So anyway, I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up and go cut this profile out, and I think that'll be it for this video. So anyway, if you all come on back next week, we're going to start on that neck with the tapered stripes up the middle and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I hope somebody got a little something out of this video. I enjoyed doing it, and I'm loving the way this guitar is looking. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. So God bless you. We'll see you all in the next one.